The fame went to his head because right after he got famous with the meme, he starts taking pictures with celebrities. He opens a bunch of new restaurants, but then the reviews come out for the restaurants and they're terrible. Why? Because the food looks like this. They said, Salt Bae, why'd I say juicy but it tastes like a brick? He said, hold on now. People said his restaurants were all flash, no substance. To top things off, he had bills up to $100,000. The food was expensive too. Salt Bae's response is pour on the flash, baby. He started posting a bunch more pictures on Instagram, shirtless, posing. They said, Salt Bae, could we talk about the food though? Salt Bae said, hold on, he gave me attitude? He talking smack? Salt Bae said,
Salt Bae just took a massive hit. 5.5 million euros gone. If you convert that, it's around $5.9 million in losses, and now the story is exploding online. This new report claims Salt Bae's empire might finally be crumbling. Yes, you heard that right. Fans and critics are losing it. One comment read, that's because it's overpriced rubbish.
Workers at his 20-plus restaurant locations are reporting horrific conditions, but one lawsuit alleges $230,000 in stolen tips. Salt Bae was forced to pay compensation in the lawsuit, but meanwhile, workers say that a culture of fear perpetuates these restaurants.
Went to his restaurant at the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, and it really wasn't anything to write home about. Another said, guy's a full-on end, and the people paying those prices, double thick. And someone else chimed in, was this the guy who managed to make salting beef a fully fledged drama? People's frustration has erupted into a full-on boycott, and that's why Salt Bae is officially down a huge stack of cash. So, what's really going on with the Salt Bae empire? I'm breaking it all down in this video. This time, the drama is hitting Salt Bae's London restaurant empire hard. According to the latest reports from earlier years, the situation with Salt Bae is actually crazier than most people realize. And honestly, the numbers are wild when you break them down. Here's the deal. Salt Bae's UK restaurant branch, the company behind his fancy London steakhouse, posted a staggering £5.5 million loss in 2024. And no, it's not because London suddenly decided to stop eating gold-coated steaks or forgetting why they came for the hype. The real culprit, the massive cash he had to burn closing down some of his international restaurants abroad. Now here's where it gets even more insane. On paper, the London branch itself was actually doing pretty well. Their turnover in London jumped to just over £10 million by the end of 2024, up from $9.3 million in 2023. Even operating profits rose from £1.5 million to about £1.9 million. So technically, the London branch was alive and kicking, seemingly thriving in the heart of the UK capital. But the bigger picture tells a very different story. The overall company still went deep into the red because of some massive, exceptional expenses.
Where workers are routinely fired for asking questions about their pay or inquiring about tips. Remember that in the United States, tips earned by employees are their property, and managers with hiring and firing power cannot take those tips, they can't be in a tip pool, and they can't take your tips as punishment. As for Salt Bae, his restaurants seem to be making money, but workers are suspicious of the poor conditions.
We're talking around £6.6 million in extra costs, all linked to shutting down two major U.S. restaurants, one in Boston and the other smack in the middle of New York's iconic meatpacking district. Both of those U.S. locations were technically owned under the same UK company, but when they went under, London had to carry the fallout too. That's why even after a solid year locally, the final numbers were brutal, a £5.5 million loss compared to a £1.7 million profit the year before. The official accounts even revealed that their EBIT dropped from $2.2 million to just £1.87 million. Ouch! And let's not forget how Salt Bae first launched his New Set London restaurant back in 2021, inside the luxurious Park Tower Knightsbridge Hotel. It was supposed to be the ultimate global flex, a high-profile influencer hotspot, the kind of place everyone would want to be seen at. But instead, things spiraled downhill fast. To give you some perspective, in 2022, the London branch brought in a whopping £13.6 million in turnover, but that plummeted to $9.3 million in 2023 and only slightly recovered to just over $10 million in 2024. These weren't small closures. They were full-blown, high-cost shutdowns that hit Salt Bae's empire where it hurts the most. I totally agree with that creator. If you really pay attention, Salt Bae is exactly the kind of person who relied on celebrity flexes to sell his restaurants. He turned every opening into a social media spectacle, made it a trend, but never cared about the food quality or fair prices. And that's exactly why, day by day, people started turning against him, hitting him with boycotts left and right. Weird, right? Just imagine people now seeing Salt Bae as nothing more than a trash butcher. His once glamorous brand image has completely collapsed under the weight of hype and failure. And this isn't just about the money anymore. Salt Bae is now facing a wave of lawsuits piling up against him, making the empire's fall even messier. Just check the comments. People are savage. One post reads, "I went to the NYC location and had a burger and fries for like $100. One of the worst burgers I've ever tasted. Salt Bae was definitely all flash and gimmick." Another person said, "TikTok fame burns hard and fast." Someone else wrote, "What? People aren't lining up to pay 2,000 pounds for a strip of beef dipped in gold paint." And another comment straight up said, "I really can't understand how this screamingly obvious BS grift doesn't have any longevity." But now, with all these lawsuits and the massive loss of revenue, people are saying Salt Bae is going broke. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that. This is living proof that if you try to play people, fool them for fame and money, karma will come crashing down. And that's exactly what's happening to Salt Bae right now. See, some of the prices on the menu might look normal at first, but the final bill hits like a bomb. Salt Bae sneakily slaps on massive service charges at the end, and most customers aren't even aware until they see it. This isn't just overpriced food anymore. This is straight up a tactic to trap people into paying way more than they signed up for. He fooled millions by taking basic food and wrapping it in edible gold. The same gold you could literally buy online for under $20. But instead of charging a fair price, he marked it up 10 times higher, making everyone think it was some kind of ultra-luxury experience, like the gold was mined straight from a royal vault or something insane like that. I don't know what delusional marketing genius thought that up, but yeah, it worked for a while, until now, and the disappointment just never stops. Almost everyone who walks into a Salt Bae restaurant ends up walking out full of regret. It's like the moment they step outside, they have to take a deep breath, trying to recover from the shock of what they just paid for such an underwhelming experience. In this video, a well-known food reviewer exposed the real truth about eating at Salt Bae's restaurants. He gave an honest review of the lunch menu, and the prices, insanely high, even compared to other high-end spots. And the worst part, the food doesn't even live up to the hype, and the letdown keeps piling up. Walking into a Salt Bae restaurant is like signing up for a roller coaster of regret. The moment guests leave, you can practically see them shaking their heads, still trying to process the jaw-dropping bills for meals that barely impress. A top food critic recently went inside and laid it all out. He tried the lunch menu and compared it to other luxury restaurants, and the numbers are shocking. The prices are astronomical, yet the quality falls flat. It's clear that Salt Bae's restaurants aren't about flavor.
That guy has, a lot of locations, $1 billion valuation. He is, for a guy that can't even talk.
Yeah, just sprinkling.
I mean,
just sprinkling the whole time.
It's amazing what this guy has accomplished. You can't take anything away from him.
They're about showmanship and hype, wrapped in a shiny layer of gold flakes. The disappointment just keeps escalating. Stepping into a Salt Bae restaurant has become a ritual of shock and disbelief. From the moment customers enter, they're hit with the glittering facade of luxury, gold flakes on steaks, celebrity photos plastered on the walls, and an atmosphere screaming exclusivity. But the magic disappears the second the bill arrives. Guests are stunned, their excitement replaced by a sinking feeling as they realize they've been charged a fortune for something far below expectations. Many try to brush it off, take a deep breath, and convince themselves it was worth it. But deep down, regret is the only thing on the menu. A prominent food critic recently stepped into Salt Bae's London branch and didn't hold back. The lunch menu, which looks impressive at first glance, hides prices that are completely out of proportion to the quality served. Comparing it to other high-end restaurants, the critic found that the flavors were bland, the portions underwhelming, and the experience nowhere near the hype Salt Bae built online. The meals, wrapped in shiny gold, gave off a sense of false luxury, a marketing illusion designed to make people feel they were paying for something extraordinary, when in reality, it was just ordinary food with a golden coating. What's worse is the way Salt Bae structured the bills. Hidden service charges, inflated tips, and additional fees make the final tab explode, leaving even wealthy customers shocked. This is no longer just about overpriced meals. It's a systematic tactic to drain wallets under the guise of exclusivity. Every glittering steak and gilded dessert was part of a larger scheme to make millions off hype while delivering minimal substance. The public is starting to wake up. Social media posts, reviews, and viral comments are exposing the cracks in the empire. People aren't buying into the celebrity-driven fantasy anymore. They see through the marketing stunts, the influencer appearances, and the glittering presentation, realizing that Salt Bae's restaurants have been all flash, no substance. The once glamorous brand image is collapsing under scrutiny, and with lawsuits piling up and financial losses mounting, it's clear that the empire Salt Bae built on illusion and hype.
My steak was definitely overpriced, and my dessert was really overpriced. Now, it's true, there are some unique courses on Salt Bae's menu, but they're just so expensive. And the gold stuff, oh my goodness. I mean, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it.
Is finally unraveling in real time. Now that you've seen the insane prices, it's time to talk about the real question. What about the quality? Is Salt Bae actually serving food that's worth all that hype in cash? Honestly, not even close. Just because you wrap a steak in gold doesn't magically make it taste better. True flavor comes from fresh ingredients, skilled chefs, and careful cooking, not flashy gimmicks and influencer stunts. And that's exactly where Salt Bae's restaurants are failing hard. The disappointment at Salt Bae's restaurants seems to have no end in sight. From the moment diners walk in, they're immediately dazzled by the glamorous setup, gold flake steaks, glossy menus, and walls plastered with celebrity selfies. The atmosphere screams luxury, but that's where the illusion stops. By the time the bill arrives, the reality hits like a sledgehammer. Guests are left stunned, trying to make sense of how a meal that looks so impressive could cost so much for so little. People are grappling with regret, questioning why they fell for the hype, and realizing they were part of a well-orchestrated marketing spectacle rather than a true dining experience. Recently, a renowned food critic walked through the doors of Salt Bae's London branch and delivered a brutally honest assessment. The lunch menu, which looks sophisticated and enticing, hides prices that are completely disproportionate to the quality. Dishes that were meant to impress instead fell flat. Flavors were underwhelming. Presentation was overhyped, and the portions were surprisingly small for the steep price tags. Even comparing it to other high-end restaurants, the critic found the experience lacking. The so-called ultra-luxury meals are mostly flashy gimmicks. The gold flakes, meant to signify exclusivity, feel more like a marketing trick than a culinary innovation. And it gets worse. Hidden charges, inflated tips, and unannounced service fees turn a seemingly reasonable bill into a shockingly expensive one. What appeared on the menu as a moderate price suddenly becomes 3 or 4 times higher, leaving diners feeling duped. This isn't just bad business, it's a calculated strategy to maximize profit off unsuspecting customers. Every gold-coated dish and every meticulously staged social media post was designed to make people believe they were paying for a premium, once-in-a-lifetime experience, when in reality, they were paying for hype and illusion. The public is catching on. Viral posts, social media threads, and online reviews are ripping apart the carefully crafted image Salt Bae created. People are starting to see the cracks, the celebrity-driven marketing, the influencer appearances, and the flashy presentations were never about the food. They were about creating a narrative of luxury and status. Salt Bae's brand, once celebrated as exclusive and elite, is now being exposed as a facade, with customers expressing anger and frustration at being misled. And it's not just public opinion. Financial reports, lawsuits, and massive losses are piling up. The empire Salt Bae built, fueled by flash and deception, is showing serious structural damage. International closures, legal battles, and skyrocketing operational costs have left the London branch carrying the burden even when it's performing relatively well. The fantasy of ultra-luxury dining has collided with harsh reality, proving that no matter how flashy, the exterior, substance, and honesty always catch up eventually. But here's the kicker. This might just be the beginning of a much bigger downfall. If Salt Bae keeps running his empire on hype, overpriced gimmicks, and hidden fees, we could actually see the whole empire sink like the Titanic. And when that happens, it won't just be about money, it'll be a complete collapse of his image, credibility, and brand legacy. So what do you guys think? Do you believe Salt Bae can survive this storm, or is his empire doomed for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. And hey, If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay up to date on all the wild celebrity and food scandals, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a shocking update